I'm hilarious. Hey man, I'm super hilarious. My viewers think so. Hi guys, welcome. I'm trying to use gender neutral pronouns. Hi everyone. Welcome to the very first Sunday class time. Today's tutorial is going to be a continuation of the Drawing Clothes on Body series. We're focusing on tailored jackets today. Viewer asked me, in your Sunday class times, what are you going to be teaching? I'm following the subscriber request queue for my Sunday class time. So the actual tutorials themselves are not changing. The queue is the queue, and I'm following that. Those are the lessons that are going to be posted on Sundays. I'm just adding the little class time element to it. Okay, so for those of you who had that question. So this video is going to be a little bit of vocab, a little bit of history, and a whole lot of drawing. What is the difference between a sport coat, a blazer, and a suit jacket? Excellent question. Number one, a suit jacket is the most formal out of the three. It's always done in the finest fabrics, nice woolen worsteds or woolens, and they always have matching pants. Okay, you buy them together. The fabric of the jacket is the same as the pants, and the styling is done so that they match together. A sport coat is the most casual of the three. Usually doesn't even involve a bunch of tailoring. You know, you buy it off the rack mostly, and they can be done in any fabrication, linens, madras, you know, simple cottons. And because they're so casual, there aren't a lot of rules as to, you know, what kind of pockets, the precise placement of pockets, and blah, 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 blah. But, you know, they have a collar, they have a lapel, they button in the front, and so it kind of fits into that whole, like, jacket, the tailored jacket category. And then blazers are in between in formality. So the fabrics are nicer, the fit is nicer, they're dressier, they don't have matching pants, but much dressier than sport coats. Number one rule of drawing anything, learning how to draw anything, is to go look at things that are the thing you want to draw. If you want to learn how to draw ducks, what do? You go look at ducks. You want to go learn how to draw a suit? Go Google Colin Firth in Kingsman. Because, wow. I don't know what's prettier, the men or the suits. What? It's a serious question. I'm going to do two drawings on men today. I'm going to do a more casual, single-breasted, notch lapel sport coat on this dude. And then I'm going to do a very formal, double-breasted, peak lapel suit jacket on this dude. And then I'm going to draw the same on women at the end of this video. Oh my gosh, so much caffeine, so much caffeine, so much caffeine. When I'm drawing symmetrical garments, I always draw left to right. I take that back. I always draw left to right because number one, I don't like pencil smudges. So if I draw here and then I draw here, I'm going to be smearing all this pencil while I'm drawing this guy. So I always draw left to right. But when I'm drawing symmetrical garments, it's especially important because I'll draw this. If I draw this first and I'm trying to match it on the left side, my hand is covering my drawing and I can't see anything. So draw on the left and then draw on the right. Of course, the opposite would be true if you're left-handed. We're going to take this and we're going to round around the neck and curve gently across the chest. I don't care how chiseled and rock hard your muscles are. Pecs are round. Shoulders are round. Everything is round, okay? Collar sits a little bit high and away from the body because of all the roll and the layers of fabric. Here's my notch lapel. Notch lapels sit straight across and then they drape and the collar sits in it like that. I've seen some people draw collars and lapels like that, and this is wrong. This here, it doesn't fit in here like that. The lapel fits in like that. That is how notch lapels and collars are constructed. There's my shoulder. Where does the shoulder end? Let's take this V shape of his trunk, curve it upward, and there is the end point of his shoulder. This is a sport coat and not overly tailored, but still you want it to look nicely fitted. So the shoulder's a tiny bit more rounded than it would be on a suit. We're gonna swing that because he's walking. And remember my wraparounds video, we're gonna see the opening of his jacket. You see the opening of the sleeve like that. And then when I draw hems, they follow the wrap around the hips, right? Follow that ellipse. And if your hand is, like if your arm is straight down at your side, then the hems of jackets should hit about this knuckle. But he's walking, so we're gonna mark it just a little bit below crotch level. Flare out a little bit because he is walking, so the jacket is opening a little bit. And the front of single-breasted jackets are typically have the rounded corner, not the sharp corner. Your button is gonna sit at center front, okay? I'm gonna pull this back a little bit. I'm gonna round that, and that's one side, okay? And then I'm going to put in a patch pocket. I'm gonna give him a patch pocket because this is a more casual look. I'm gonna give him a patch pocket, and then I'm gonna give him a nice slim fisheye dart for fit. To make sure that things are symmetrical, the jacket's gonna cross over at center front. So it meets here. It's gonna cross over like that. And we're gonna roll that collar. That's symmetrical here and here. If you were wearing a shirt, you would see a little bit of that cuff. Now here, we're gonna erase this because he's left over right. This is his left. Left over right or right over left. For men, it's left over right, and for women, it's right over left. Okay, they're opposite because traditionally, way back in the day, men dressed themselves and women were dressed by someone else. Okay, that's why the buttons and closures are opposite on women. Story time! One of my bomb-ass pattern making teachers from college, she told us this little story to teach us how to remember left over right, right over left. Now girls, she said, imagine you have a date with a nice young man and he comes to pick you up at your front door in his father's caddy. You go with him, you know, he's driving, you're in the passenger seat, he takes you out to a nice dinner, and if he treats you like a lady all night, maybe you will agree to go with him to go parking in his car. Yes, that's right. My pattern making teacher told us stories about parking, right? So maybe your nice gentleman caller takes you to Lover's Lane so that you guys can park the car and spend some quality time together. Quality time. He's in the driver's seat and you're in the passenger seat. His shirt goes left over right so that you could slide your hand in his shirt, and your blouse goes right over left, ladies, so that he can slide his hand in your shirt. And that is how you remember left over right, right over left. Do I need to put like a rated PG thing on this video now? I'm gonna block things out so that things sit symmetrically. Let me block that out so that my darts are sitting in the right spot. We don't do a big fluffy handkerchief anymore, you know. It's much more modern, crisp little fold instead. And there is your more casual sport coat with a softer shoulder and a notched lapel, patch pockets, and fisheye darts. Single-breasted. You're typically going to see your second button with a buttonhole here. okay? And the top of your pocket usually is right around where that second closure is. You know, not precisely, but right around there, a little bit above, a little bit below, right around there. Now, why did I leave it open like this? There are rules for dressing. If you have a 2-button jacket, you only ever button the top button. You do not button the bottom button. If you have a 1-button jacket, then you just button that 1 button. With 3-button jackets, you button the middle button. The top button is optional, and you never button the bottom button. I don't care if you're freezing to death. Look, buttoning that bottom button will not make you any warmer. It will just make you look stupid. Let's do a formal suit jacket, double-breasted with a peak lapel. So with double-breasted jackets, I block things out a little bit more. First, I block out how wide the overlap is going to be. It's going to be like that. All right. The most traditional, typical, common double-breasted jackets have 6 buttons. Okay. 2 up here that are useless and decorative, and then 4 in the main, right? So I want to block out the buttons in my drawing because they need to be spaced out well. So where's the break going to be? I'm going to situate the break around the elbow. That's kind of where it's at right now. Okay, so the break is going to be right around the elbow. And so that first button is going to sit here. Okay, and then you don't want the top buttons too high so they are starting to fight with the chest pocket. I'm going to set them about here. This distance and this distance need to be the same, right? So your buttons are gonna sit here, and your buttons are gonna sit here. Okay? Because this distance needs to be the same as this distance. Okay? This creates a square, and then these come out to the sides. We're gonna curve this out, remember? We're curving around the chest, Things cross over at center front. We have our collar, again, sitting away from the body. We have that little tiny roll there because, you know, the collar and lapel roll and fold into the rest of the jacket, and I like to emphasize that a little bit. A peak lapel looks like a V. It goes down and then it comes back out again, and the collar sits right in that V. We're going to put in a very tiny gap there. Some of these, they're like stitched together so that there's no gap. Sometimes there's a tiny gap. Sometimes there's a really big gap. That's really rare though. Typically there will be a buttonhole. Why we have that buttonhole, nobody knows. Okay, no one's used it in forever, but they need to be there. There's your shoulder. Again, that V, we're blocking off that V. And we're gonna keep it nice and close to the body, slight flare for walking. That shoulder is gonna be super crisp because this jacket is tailored within an inch of its life. This shoulder is super sharp. Anytime I draw anything that's far more tailored, my lines just get more angular. That's just kind of my style. And again, you're gonna see that opening. We're going to make this as symmetrical as possible, right? Again, there's that ellipse for the hem. And with double-breasted jackets, the hem is straight. It does a straight corner, not that round cutaway thing. Everything lines up all pretty and nice. And there's your button here. That's your main button. This button also gets a buttonhole. This button does not get buttoned, okay? When you have a 6-button blazer like this, you only button these 2. This one is the underneath, and then this one is on the outside. This one Now, you would draw the button if you're drawing a flat, but when you're drawing it open like this, when you're drawing it worn on a body like this, that's going to be blank. Okay? If it swings open in the action, you'll see the button underneath like this, but that's blank. And then this is a button without a buttonhole. And then you have your buttonhole here, your extra fancy little buttons there. Okay. And then, of course, you have your chest pocket, a nice slight angle with your nice folded handkerchief in here like so. You can do the fisheye darts, or you could do side panels. Sometimes with menswear, you know how with women's wear you have those princess seams? Instead of the darts, I mean, you could do a single dart, you could do a double dart. Instead of a dart, you would have a side panel. It's not very visible at all, but you have a slight side panel. We'll come all the way down. And then the back of the jacket, you know, let's say you have the back of the jacket like this. There's your collar. There's your armhole. If you had a side seam, it would be here on this slightly 3/4 guy. Here's his center back, okay? And princess seams sit in the middle, okay? And you don't put princess seams on men, but a side panel would sit like this, okay? Then you get rid of his side seam like so. And when you do vents in the back, okay, you always have slits in the back for movement. If you have a center back single vent, it would sit along the center back. And if you have side panels, you could do double vents, okay? And you would see the other one here. Don't do all three. Then you just have these flappy things in the back. When you live in a windy city like I do, okay, no. Okay, one or the other. Don't do both. But if you have the side panels, you can put them along those seams for those double vents in the back. With a more formal suit jacket like this, I prefer a welt pocket, and I like them situated like closer to this button, kind of in between in the space. And again, you want to block that out so that you have things nice and symmetrical. And then if you want, you can also have a pocket flap. And if you have a pocket flap, make sure we're seeing that stick out a little bit past the silhouette of the jacket, because it is a flap. And it would sit close, but not pressed against the silhouette. Now, when you have jackets, you're typically going to have a 2-piece sleeve. I mean, people use this for boutonnieres now. I mean, that's what they're supposed to be used for. Although, I mean, when was the last time you wore a boutonniere not at prom? Some jackets have a smaller secondary pocket in here. They used to put like train tickets in there. It's like a ticket pocket. Like men commuting, Industrial Revolution, put their train ticket in there, not get it confused with everything else. And, you know, the conductor would come around and collect tickets, and it was just always had a little separate pocket. No buttonholes for those. Buttonholes for these. This one doesn't have a buttonhole. This one doesn't close. And there are your more casual, single-breasted, notched lapel, double button, patch pocket sport coat, and your much more formal, double-breasted, peak lapel, formal, tailored suit jacket with the sharper shoulder. All right, I'm gonna do the women's wear on a 3/4 figure so that the styling is going to be the same as before. The only changes with women's wear is, again, right over left. The fit curves around, typically a curvier figure, more in and out. And darts and side panels become princess seams and darts closer to the center to fit around breasts. Okay. But I'm going to show you on a 3/4 so you can kind of see how the shapes change a little bit as they move around. Women's suit jackets tend to be a tiny bit shorter than men's. Not always, but there's your standard just below the crotch sort of look. Here's her center front, so that crossover is going to happen right at her center front. This is going to look skinnier because it's further away, basic perspective. You see more of the armhole because it's facing you. Chest pocket. Side seam. Patch pocket. Here's your fisheye dart. There's your other fisheye dart. Mine's going to sit at this edge. That's the other edge. My break is going to be about here. My hem is here. Let's lower that break. I'm going to break it to here. And that's going to be another section of buttons. The other set of buttons, my chest pocket will sit there. All right, so there's my break. Peak lapel. You see a bit of that shoulder. And again, this is coming around. There's that button. Here's the other button. We've got the other button. You're not going to see it from this angle. The other one sitting over there. This one is open, but you're going to see that button sitting there like that. There's your other button. You're going to see this armhole. This corner is straight. It's kind of swinging out, so let's show that button a little bit more so that we can see that it's swinging out a little bit. This is buttoned, and it'll swing like that. You might want to show that a little bit. There's your side seam. And then your darts might actually be in line. You could also have a second fisheye, which is pretty common if you want a really close fit to have the double darts. Was that enough information for you guys? I really hope so. You guys know the drill. Check the description box if you have any questions. If your answer is not there, drop me all the comments. Class time means that now that the video's over, I'm going to be sticking around online for an hour to answer your questions as fast as I can. And then this video will stay up so that anyone who wants to watch or rewatch later can. Please hit the thumbs up button if you found this video helpful. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share with all of those who are struggling to draw suit jackets. Hashtag always be practicing. Hashtag practice not magic. Hashtag if your first one sucks, you're right on track. AKA it means you did a first one. You actually drew something, so you are right on track. And I will see you in the next video.